So hello and welcome to my studio in Brooklyn. I've been asked to talk about drawing for the Pushing Paper exhibition, and I had a look at the drawing actually that I have in your show, Venus with Spikes. I have it here actually as a copy, just to remind myself of that time and what I was thinking about and the influence it had on me subsequently. And it's quite interesting because the boundary edge that you see here, very clearly demarked, is something that has added significance for me as a concept. You know, thinking about the boundary edge of the body, I have been working at this for in different ways all through my life as an artist. What's always fascinated me about figuration and the tension between figuration and abstraction is the question, is there another way to explore the representation of the body? Here in this drawing, you know, looking back, this was 1986, I lived in Berlin, and I was very, very open to new influences. I was looking for alternative structures, alternative ways of representing the figure, and looking at the Museum of Dahlem in West Berlin, the ethnographic collections there, and oftentimes in ethnographic work, you see this very abstracted sort of diagram aspect to the figure. And I thought this was really cool. It was like, yeah, here we have the inside and here we have the outside and here's the boundary line. So that sort of almost childlike simplicity is what's behind this drawing. And it's sort of funny because, you know, this attention to the edge has evolved in a different language and color. So I'll just go fast forward to 30 years, because I'm right in the middle of my studio now, and show you a few paintings that I'm dealing with now. Behind me, here's a few. Here's one that's very dark. It's a deep Indian red and chromate oxide green on a pale, radiant blue kind of grey mix. And next to it is a different, very dark, also foreground colour, but it's more orangey, warmer kind of colour on a green, on a greenish grey. And the ones that I'm really fascinated by right now also are these extremely radiant ones. So I've got this little group that all have this kind of orange towards brown, brown towards orange foreground on a, I want to say almost background of pale lilac. And this is so very fascinating how the lilac controls the radiation of the orange. So I keep kind of spreading the orange out and taking it back with the lilac. And then I have these paintings that are almost invisible. You feel this boundary coming forward, but the painting is almost invisible. It's so subtle. So I have some where, for example, this one, where there's a cool pink that's made from burnt umber and radiant pink, radiant red, I think, and white, floating on two colours either side. One is emerald green and one is raw umber. They're very, very pale colours. They're very pale versions of emerald green and raw umber. And so you just get the feeling of this almost sort of pulsating or vibrating kind of boundary hovering in front of the picture plane. I've always been fascinated by the genre of oil painting and history and the beautiful representations of skin and presence, really, human presence. Yeah, so one thing that's really consistent between my drawings and my paintings is that I do work very fast, and so in the case of my paintings, I'm always have to work within one full session from beginning to end. So they generally take between 2 and 6 hours, depending on the size and the struggle and so on. Drawings, however, take me a matter of minutes. And, you know, part of the value of drawing for me is that they're so low technology. There's really no technical obstacles to just drawing a line. And I realized that for me, drawing is a kind of linear action. I'm thinking in 3 dimensions when I draw, maybe almost like a sculptor might. And looking back on a few key drawings in my life, including Venus with Spikes, they all have this in common, which is that they're like kind of skeletons for a fleshing out of an idea. And yeah, so yeah, I'm just kind of looking through some of my older drawings, which I feel really had a future. They really were like seeds for work that really became quite important to me. And one of them is this series, actually. I didn't have sketching paper. I was working part-time at Schaubühne am Lehniner Platz, and in the break I I remember I sort of found some kind of scrap of paper somewhere and a pen, and I started in a way just doodling, you know, like you do sometimes. And then I kind of like started to develop these weird sculptural forms, interlocking one to the other, each one changing the other, which I ended up calling dance. They're tiny drawings, but they ended up being a trigger for my only ever sculptures that I did, actually. And they were reasonably successful. They were shown at the Museum of Modern Art in Edinburgh, and this one is called Dance. It's a huge paper mache sculpture, and it was very exciting at the time, and it's just interesting to notice how valuable that little drawing was, you know. So, when I do drawings, I never, though, sort of consult religiously the drawing and mark up, as it were. The value in the drawing for me is this kind of almost instantaneous discovery in the moment. So, you know, when I did these drawings, I was very much, you know, oh, what if? And then the making of the sculpture took that interest, that curiosity further, but you know, the materials were the thing which made the sculpture very different to the drawing. Just like in the painting, actually, for Venus with Spikes, also I did a big painting based on that drawing, inspired by that drawing, but the actual application of paint marks made the painting seem a very different image to the drawing. That ended up in the Gulbenkian Foundation in Lisbon. So, and then throughout my career, I've turned to drawing in a way to solve issues or find new solutions. But they're always linear drawings, you know, and they're very fast, and I do a lot of them at one time, just going, you know, a few minutes in each one, trying to find more and more of a economy in a way. Yeah, so between 2008 and 2018, I worked on magnifications of the body. At first they were observation-based, and then they were imaginary. And I was really, you know, thinking about the tondo and the oval as a sort of you know, thinking of it in 3 dimensions, sort of transforming it with the paint into 3 dimensions. So oftentimes the drawing aspect would help me to kind of break down the primal contours in the composition. So here, for example, with this underside of the breast painting in the oval, which, you know, it's a little bit like an ovular shape being presented on a flat oval. That was also kind of curious. But in the drawing, you can see, and this is maybe one of 50, you know, where I'm figuring out what will be the dominant contour in the painting. So this is quite interesting. And then with other drawings, you know, that idea of taking a line for a walk. I like that kind of idea where you're in the very present sort of moment, and you're sort of following your curiosity second by millisecond, like going on a walk. So this drawing is very much like this, and the dots are the very last thing that I did in the drawing, which kind of translated for me in my mind to tiny little details on skin. I want to emphasize to our younger artists, if you're listening in, is, you know, in this world of so many different influences and directions and possibilities, you know, I think it's really important to dig deep down where you find the most interest and passion resonating within you, and follow that. You know, it's a long journey ahead of you, and passion and excitement and curiosity is the fuel that will keep you going into all sorts of different things. And you know, to find your authenticity in this struggle is the main thing, because that's where you'll get your energy ultimately. Having said that, you know, I am especially remembering my time in Berlin especially. I remember that feeling, you know, of really wanting to branch out and kind of break everything down that I've ever known and start again. I was very interested in the work of Baselitz for a while, and Oskar Schlemmer, Niki de Saint-Phalle. You know, I had all these different influences swimming around me, seizing my attention, and I worked through them. I wasn't for a minute thinking it would be a long-term thing. It was just that I needed that kind of relief from my own, you know, work at the time, which was really just the experience of having been a student in Scotland and Edinburgh College of Art, and being incredibly interested in the live model. But also I had that bizarre disconnect with the traditional way of figurative painting. So I had no idea what was in store, and I was hungry. I was looking for different approaches. So taking it all back to drawing as well, I think drawing is an amazingly efficient tool to harness and explore ideas. It has been pretty intense for all of us. So this technology is all the more important because we can't travel at the moment, you know. And well, it was certainly a very intense experience for me a few months ago in New York, and it may well return to that. But I had to give up my lovely big studio. I had to go and I had to stay at home in my apartment in Manhattan. And we have a typical apartment which is very small. Everything is, you know, economic to say the least. And we do have a little spare office bedroom, but it's, I don't know, like a tenth of the size of this room. And I had to create a little plastic kind of tent within the room. I'll just show you quickly these gouaches I've been doing, which are almost drawing. It's in between drawing and painting for me. So I've been collecting over the years colour portrait studies of friends around the world, and friends with obviously different skin tones to me, and to find out how that skin tone glows in a darker, warmer, cooler, lighter register. And these portraits are so valuable to me. Again, it's something I could never get with photography. I study the light and the shadow. I always use north light, so it's not too dramatic. So it's this sort of soft north light on people's skin, and you know, absorbing their presence and their skin tone and the way it glows has been enormously inspiring. And in fact, the colours in my paintings are all inspired by this project. So, but as I can say, you know, being invited to do this video about the role of drawing in my art, it is fascinating how the drawings that were really strong in my past, which had seeds and pointed to the future of my development are all linear drawings that emphasize the boundary edge of the body, and this is exactly what I'm working with in my oil paintings in a very minimalist way.